How can someone begin giving themselves permission to live again without feeling as though they're leaving the person they lost behind?
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's newsman,
And if you were just
Logan
trying to get your
Crawford.
investigators, they now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
What happens when the funeral ends, everyone else begins moving on, and your grief is only beginning? I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we are talking about an empowering book, a compelling book. It is called When the Casket Closes, Holding On When the World Moves On. It is written by a terrific author. Her name is Shellita Austin, and she draws on more than 20 years of supporting grieving individuals and families to offer practical guidance, spiritual support, and hope after loss. Her book speaks to the long, often lonely period after a funeral and reminds readers that healing does not have to follow anyone else's timetable. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Shellita, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Logan, for having me.
Great to have you on the show. This is such an important book. It is such a lonely time after the funeral ends because the wake and the funeral and the dinners in between and the planning, it's all a big distraction. But once they close the casket and once they put that person in the ground and once all the friends have left, it can be a very, very hard and lonely time. Talk to us about that period and what people need to do to shield their hearts at that time.
Absolutely. As you said, yes, it's been 20 plus years I've walked with families during all of these seasons, whether it's been a child, a parent, a sibling, a friend. And what happens, what grieved me was standing by and watching, walking with them during the process and then watching everyone drive away. And I would always stay with the family or, come back and talk with them like a week after, and they're alone and they're grieving and no one is really checking on them. And that is one of the reasons why we're here with the book today, because I wanted to put a spotlight on that to let people know that's not the end. That is the beginning.
Exactly. It's one thing to pay your respects and mourn the loss of a loved one, but you have to realize that the loved ones who are left behind are the ones that are truly crushed by the experience. So if you love someone out there, it's your mother, your father, or, an aunt or an uncle or whatever it might be, and they've suffered a profound loss, what are the ways that somebody can go about helping them through their grief?
Well, in my book, I call it the blueprint to grieving. And I'm looking at two different audiences because I've walked with two different types of people. The people that are grieving and the people that are assisting or helping them with grieving. And the thing about it is how they can help them is check on them, go sit with them, make a phone call or a text, especially it really gets difficult or challenging when there's a loved one that has passed away, when the holidays come up, when their birthdays come up, or, whenever something significant comes up when they celebrate with them. So I would just say, take the time to, if they come on in your mind, or what I do and what I would tell people to do, set a date on your calendar because your life is still going on. So set a date and time on your calendar, even if it's just to drop them a text or just go by and have a cup of coffee with them. That means the world to them. And that way they do know they're not alone.
Absolutely. And grief can affect you more than just emotionally. It can affect you physically, spiritually, and even socially. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, I personally have witnessed sometimes people think that grief just affects you and you're crying and you're depressed and you're emotional, but grief attacks your body as well. That is stress, which can cause heart issues, which can cause all types of different types of medical issues as well. And sometimes people do two different things. Sometimes when people are grieving, they find comfort in food, and that can begin overeating. That causes health challenges. Then there's the other people that sometimes when they're grieving, they don't eat. That also causes health challenges. And sometimes when you're in it, you're not paying attention to your body, and your body is sending you signals. So it's not just what we think on the surface. On the surface, we think the person is depressed. It's just because they're grieving. But see, there's a difference between grieving and being grief stricken. And a lot of times when we're not paying attention to our body is telling us something is going on in my body, and they can't pay attention to it because they just put that in, oh, I'm just grieving. No, that you need assistance, you need help. You really do. So
Yeah, some people literally die of a broken heart. I
they
mean, broken
die.
heart syndrome is a real thing.
It is. And I have personally, Logan, I have witnessed three people personally close to me that I know that have literally died from being grief stricken because I would say they didn't properly grieve, but there's no proper way to grieve.
Right.
But because of the fact that no one checked on them, they were isolated. They allowed grief to come in, suicidal thoughts, poor processing of everything, not just holding everything in internally and not being able to release it. How can you release something to someone when everyone else has left?
Yeah, it's hard when you're alone, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Also, you got to be very careful what you say to someone after someone dies. Telling them to move on is not helpful. It can be pretty painful too, because sometimes people are holding on to their grief because that's their way of holding on to their loved one, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. When people say you in time you'll get over it and things like that, it's like I always tell people, listen, people are going to say things because they don't know what to say. And instead of not saying anything, but just being there, being present, they will talk to fill the void. And when someone says move on, it's like you're diminishing that person's loved one and you're diminishing their feelings and their emotions because now their normal isn't the same as it was before. So now they're having to deal with a lot of different things at one time. And that is the last thing you should always tell someone. The things that I wrote in my book, I wrote things that would be good to say. I said what not to say, and then I gave an outline of what to say, because sometimes, like I said, people don't always mean to hurt people's feelings and things like that. But I've watched relationships end. I've watched marriages break up. I've watched all families divided, and not because they intentionally did something or said something. They didn't know what to say. So my book is a guideline to show you. That's one of the things don't say. Sometimes when you don't know what to say, just be silent and be present. That speaks volumes.
Exactly. What are some of the okay things to say when somebody is lost? When I'm sorry if you're lost. That's what I generally say. I'm sorry if you're
Yes.
lost.
Yeah. Well, that is something that someone says, and that's okay to say that.
Yeah.
It's just the timing of when you say it. You
Yeah.
know, I wrote in my book that we should all give the family at least 24 hours before we come over and start saying sorry for your loss, because they're still processing.
Right.
But one of the things that I would say, Logan, what I say to a lot of people, and you only say things that you mean, things that are sustainable to you. I tell people, hey, I'm a phone call away. I'm a text away. If it's someone you're close to, you just say, I love you.
Yeah.
Not you're not alone. You're not going to go through this. People say that a lot, but actually that person we'll be alone when the casket closes.
Mm.
So we just have to be intentional about who the person is. If you have a relationship with the person, then I love you. I'm right here for you. You can text me. And then not just say you can text me and call me. You text them. You call them. You mean what you say and say what you mean.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And don't be avoidant of the person either. I think some people, because they're uncomfortable with the situation, don't know what to say, are reminded of their own mortality. They kind of steer
Mhm.
clear of that person and the situation. And that's one of the worst things to do, right?
It is. It is. And people do that. And again, they don't do that intentionally, but they stay away from the person because they don't know what to say. They stay away from the person because of guilt, because they feel sorry for them and things like that. But the thing that they should do, that person really needs at least one or two that will always be there. It doesn't have to be a group of people. And again, when you don't know what to say, just show up. Just show up, have a cup of coffee, bring a biscuit, something, just sometimes just being there. I've noticed that being quiet in a room speaks louder than what I'm saying, and just showing up for someone, being an extra body for someone, that will help that person get up. That will help that person take that next step. But when people avoid you, that sends a message to the person that's grieving that they don't matter, that you don't care about them, even though you said you'll be there, but now you're absent. And that can destroy a person as well, because they're not processing things the way they normally would, because death is a trauma, a traumatic experience.
Absolutely. When you lose someone, suddenly you realize the importance of faith.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
if you haven't gone to church in years, you will go to church or you will pray, you will hit your knees. It's a good reminder that there's something greater than all of us. You're also a pastor, and faith is an important part of the guidance you provide. Talk to us a little bit about how faith can help guide us when we're grieving, and how it can help us get past some of the anger and confusions and questions about why this has happened.
Yes. The thing about having faith, we have to know that God is still with us. No matter what, God did not do this. Death is inevitable. It is part of life. And the thing about it is, you have to surround yourself with people that pray, and people that genuinely are going to be there for you. You can draw your strength from them. Sometimes when you're going through this, you can't pray, but you can, have people that will pray for you. One of the things that I've learned that hope, because death is not the end, and you shouldn't be hopeless whenever that happens, because we are being prepared for it every day that we are breathing. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I say about hope, HOPE, hang on, pain ends. And that is what faith is. Faith is having hope that death is not the end. It is the beginning of a lot of things. It's the beginning of grief, but it's also the beginning of a new journey. It's beginning of, meeting new people. Sometimes death can bring people together, people that might haven't talked to you in a while, or you haven't seen in a while. But when there is a death at the funeral, you start seeing people you haven't seen before. So I always say that, by faith, we have to look at death the way that God sees it, and the way he sees it is as hope.
Exactly.
Hope.
He's given us the promise of eternal life as
Yes.
well. So we have to look to that as well for comfort in that time. How can someone begin giving themselves permission to live again without feeling as though they're leaving the person they lost behind?
Well, one of the things that they do is, I always tell people, folk, what would your loved one say to you in this minute? You know your loved ones better than anyone else. Would they want you to continue living, continue to experience life, And the thing about it is, Logan, I've been telling people, even in my book, have the conversation before, have the conversation with your loved one while they're still living. I know it's a hard conversation to have, but it's a necessary conversation to have. And, I've had families that after the casket closed, they went on a cruise.
Yeah.
They went on a cruise together, but you have to continue to live because that person, that loved one, I don't know, in my 20 plus years, I have never ever met a family that had a loved one that wanted them to suffer when they pass away. Because I've not only walked with them after the casket, I walked with families before, during, and after. So I was in close proximity with the loved one before they transition in a lot of cases. I go to hospice centers and I pray with people there. And I have conversations with people there and I meet different families there. So, and I asked them that question. And that's the thing. They were like, well, I'm holding on because of my loved one. I want them to be ready. So it's a beautiful thing if we look at it the way God sees it.
Absolutely. That is great advice. Look at it at the way God sees it. The name of the book is When the Casket Closes, Holding On When the World Moves On. It is written by Shellita Austin. It is a compassionate guide for navigating what happens after a loss, offering grieving individuals and families reassurance, practical guidance, spiritual support, and a reminder that healing does not have to follow anyone else's timetable. Shellita, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much, Logan, for having me. I want to say one thing. I
Sure.
want to just thank my publishing coach, Nisa Jones with NJK Enterprises. She really saw the vision and helped me to birth it. I call her my midwife. She helped me to push this baby out, and I am grateful. And I just wanted to, shout it out. This book probably wouldn't have came together if it wasn't for her assistance.
Wonderful. Well, it's a beautiful baby. It's a beautiful book. It's an important book, that's for sure, because unfortunately, all of us are going to deal with grief, are going to deal with dying, are going to deal with loss at one point in our lives. So be prepared for it. Keep your spiritual shield strong. Read this book. Learn how to comfort others. Learn how to comfort yourself. Learn how to give yourself permission to live and love and laugh and smile again. I appreciate your time today, Shellita. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.